All right.
Yeah, it looks like we're live.
Yep, we're live. All right.
Time for the panic to set in.
Yes. We're live. This is Making Comics number 7. Tonight we have Donal Delay and we have Muttman. And normally I would go ahead and tell you what they're all doing, but I'm going to let them do it this time. Let them introduce themselves, tell you what they're doing or what they've done, and then we'll get right into it. And thanks to anybody in the chat right now. Thanks for starting the show with us. I appreciate that. And during the course of it, if you like what you hear, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. I've got a little mini goal of getting to 100 subscribers by April the 1st. We'll see how that goes. So anyways, without any further delay, here's Delay.
Oh, geez. Just put me on the spot. I'm Donal Delay. I currently do a comic called Brutus the Badass, which is on Indiegogo. Well, it's closed on Indiegogo, but and will be coming out very, 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 very soon. And I am also going to be working on a book called Vestige with Steve Dye, Gato Hanzo, and the War Campaign guys. And it's looking to shape up pretty damn nice. I think people are going to like it. I don't want to say too much about it because I know they want to launch it and have a big stream about it.
Oh, that sounds great. That sounds awesome.
And that's me.
That's
cool.
Donald.
Cool. I'm Mudman. My name's Jason. I go by Muttman on Twitter and YouTube. Currently, I am working on an anthology book called Tales from Beyond the Gate. And it's with a bunch of cool guys who are doing this horror anthology. And so I've got a story in there called Anastasia, and it actually is a prequel story that leads into another project that's coming up for me, which is called Hero. It's HIRO, and it stands for Hardware Integrated Reanimation Ordnance. And it's kind of like Pinocchio meets Frankenstein meets Captain America. And it's about an undead super soldier who is involved in World War III. So basically, it's just an excuse for me to draw, crazy action and big guns and, just wartime mayhem. So that is going to actually launch April 30th. And so hopefully we'll have plenty of backers that'll want to see that and back that book.
That sounds great. Yeah, I've seen Hero the first round, and looking good. So can't wait to see that back on there. And Anastasia, well, as fates would have it, that's my granddaughter's name. So
oh, cool, man.
There you go. Yeah. So very cool. So what I like to do in these is just talk about, how the creator got started, what drew him to comic books, did they, what other industries did they work in that were related at the time, what inspires you to continue to work in comics, and then we'll get into some other questions about the actual creative process. So I'd like to first start off by acknowledging the chat. We got Macho Dan's in the chat.
What up, Macho?
I want to give him a wrench, but I don't
give that guy a wrench. He's dangerous. You give him a wrench, he'll never let it go.
I don't know how to do it. Did I just click on him and hey?
Oh, you gotta right click his name.
Oh man! If you give him a wrench, you'll never see the end of it.
I think I did it. I don't think it was too difficult. So we'll see. I can always fire him if it's too much. So.
Oh, please do.
And then Set Devnov, I can never pronounce his name right. I hope that's right. I'm just gonna call him 7 of 9. So he's in here. Gateway into Comics is in here. Giving a shout out to Donal.
It's French. Set de neuf.
Okay.
Huh. What does it mean?
7? I don't know. 7 of 9, probably.
It means the 7th of September.
Okay.
So, so cool. So,
Yeah.
let's start off with how did you guys get interested in comics? You know, both of you are artists, obviously, very good artists, and I know how I got started. Nobody wants to hear that again. So, let's. How did you guys get started in doing sequential art, comic art?
Go ahead, Donal. Go ahead, Donal.
For me, it was a long, long time ago. I was a casual, kind of casual doodler, I guess you would say. I would draw like The Simpsons out of the TV guide, and then I really got into comics when the Image guys had formed. I was a casual reader at that point too, but it really kind of sunk in, really dug my teeth in when Image formed in '92.
Yeah, early.
And I was just copying all their work all day, every day. I wanted to work at the companies. I wanted to work at Extreme Studios.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to draw comics ever since, but I would never like put in the real effort to learn the craft or anything like that, because I was one of those people that never thought they would, make it. So I gave it the old college try. Just a couple years ago, I put out a webcomic, and then that caught the eye of Justin Jordan, and we ended up working together on an Image book called Death of Love. And I guess you could say that was my official start.
That's so cool that you went to Image. That was your first book?
Yeah, and it was like, everybody has the dream of going to Marvel and, DC. Everybody's got that make mine Marvel kind of mentality. They want to work on those characters. Well, when I got into comics, it was pretty much hardcore through Image. So Image was my Marvel. So it was like no other company I wanted to work for. There was a time where I was like, I want to draw Batman, that'd be cool because everybody wants to do that. And I want to draw Lobo, that'd be cool. Everyone wants to do that. But it was really Image. That was my dream. I wanted to have a book with that eye on it. And I got that.
Yeah. That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. Well, for me, it was kind of sort of similar. Definitely Image was I was a little bit before Image when I started collecting comics as a youngster. So for me, it was like late 80s, the beginning of the 90s. So I was right there. I was in the thick of it for the Image boom. But before that, it was X-Men for me, Mark Silvestri, X-Men, and Amazing Spider-Man with McFarlane, and then Jim Lee X-Men. So those are my major go-tos. I loved Batman as a kid because the 1989 film Batman really got me into. I guess the 1989 film really kind of reinvigorated my interest in comics, and I started buying a lot more comics with my money instead of toys and stuff. I kind of switched from toys over to comics, and then I started to just try to draw them. And I remember one of my earliest memories of drawing comics is I had a Walt Simonson Thor, and I had it laid out. And I was trying to trace it, or not trace it, but I was trying to match it and draw Thor the way that Walt Simonson drew Thor. And the more I did it, the more I realized that there were some tricks to it. And I started to try to learn the tricks. So I kind of started backwards. I didn't really learn to draw forms and, sort of like real life. I sort of tried to learn the comic tricks before I learned real life drawing.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, that's interesting. You say that. Little funny story. I'll keep it short. When I first did my first book, Night Masters, and self-published back in the '80s, I got a piece of fan mail, and that was before email. And then it basically, yeah, right. Basically said, what you should do is you should learn how to draw a tree. Go outside and learn how to draw a tree. Don't draw from comic books.
Right.
And it's like, Okay. I mean, I was heartbroken at the time. I mean, I was only 21 years old, but it was true. It was probably the best piece of advice I got. Well, young artist, so trying to
Yeah.
get into comic books. So, yeah, plays right into what you were saying, but
Well, I ended up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you go.
Well, I was going to say I ended up in art school, so I took my tricks all the way through high school and landed in art school, and my illustration teachers were pretty hard on that stuff, so they kind of broke me of that, and that's kind of how I actually learned to draw real things. Was not until college, so I was probably about 19, 20 as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's something that a lot of young aspiring comic book artists really don't want to hear, but it's really helpful. I mean, I'm 53 years old and I still learn anatomy every day. I try to that's what I practice. I practice the anatomy of human beings because that's what I want to draw. Right, I'm drawing characters and things like that. So it seems like I learn something new every day, and I think it's a really good practice to have.
Definitely
as an artist. Yeah,
definitely a good practice. But 21-year-old me would have been like, "You telling me to go? No, I don't want to draw a tree. I want to
exactly.
big guns and people killing each other.
Yeah, big
badass dude with a big knife.
Right,
not a tree.
That's exactly right. No."
Yeah, but you get to do that, right? Like you get to do those things, but you get to do them better after you start to learn a little bit about anatomy and real life. And the tricks, like, all the tricks you learn, illustrative tricks for comics, it all stays with you. It's a different kind of skill. And that's how you can put those scenes together so quickly and, use, big swaths of ink to like make, big shapes. But before that, once you have the structure in you to draw, then all of a sudden it becomes like even better when you do it in comic book style.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Another big mentor I had, I don't know if you could call him a mentor, just somebody you aspire to be like. Obviously, I think people have listened to me before. John Buscema was a big influence on me with Conan the Barbarian.
Oh man,
and other stuff he worked on back in the 70s. And but another guy was Will Eisner. That guy was great at sequential art. He could tell a story without any words at all, just with pictures. And I don't know if people recognize him as much anymore as what they used to when I was growing up. I think a lot of people just think it's the name on an award that the comic book industry gives themselves. Yeah. But Will Eisner was really good comic book artist. But
yeah, that man could tell a story like nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite stories that he did was just about an ant trying to crawl up. I think it was a wall.
Yeah,
just on the other side. It's a great story about that showcases the struggle, and it's just it's an ant.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but I know exactly what you're talking about because it's one of the things that a lot of the old school artists talk about and using as an example of really good storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Contract with God is one of those to go study, right?
Like
you can find that at any library. They've all got a contract with God, so that's your Will Eisner study guide right there.
Yes, Contract with God is another really good piece of art. But yeah, I grew up with a lot of those. Dave Sim, right, of Cerebus, the aardvark. That black and white stuff. I mean, that's why I'm so excited in this day and age, with you guys, Brutus and Hero coming out and Nasir Stardust. And I mean, I could go on and on and on and name a bunch, Jack Irons, because they're independent. And there's a different feel with independent books because that the creators really pouring their heart and soul into this creation because it's theirs, right? And they're just not drawing something to collect a paycheck. Now, I'm not accusing, the bigger artists who work for the bigger companies of doing that because Okay, there you go. Some are obviously there are some really good artists out there though that are working on things. What is it? I hope I don't get his name wrong. Dave Finch, right? You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah,
he did some DC
he's
stuff.
he's a big influence on me.
Yeah, he's good. Probably better than good. And then, there's a bunch. And but with independent books, you know that the person cares about what they're drawing or what they're writing about, and the final product is going to be their best effort, right? You just know that. So, and I think it starting to play out as more and more independent books come out. I mean, I love Rags. I think that's a good book. Like I said, Jack Irons, good stuff. Brutus. I haven't read Hero yet, but I'm sure it's good. Art's looking good. So
You can read the first 16 pages for free.
I know. I've yet to do that. I've got to do that. Thanks for reminding me. I've been so busy with doing pinup for Jack. I've got some freelance stuff I'm doing. So look, I'm just making an excuse. I haven't read it yet. I'll read it though.
Just get it done, Bruce. Come on.
I know. I'm such a bad person. So let me ask you guys.
Macho just put it in the chat, by the way. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Macho just threw that link in the chat. He also threw in a link. Macho's on it today. Maybe the wrench was good,
right?
Because he put in a link to the Image comics that Donal did.
Oh, right. Yeah, I see that.
So you can check that out.
Yeah. Macho. I'm gonna have to keep you around. I think, man. I might have to chain you to the computer every time I do one. So let me just touch on the chat real quick. Sepdenov, 7 of 9. I've got you. He explains his name. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
My French is off apparently. Way off.
He's also looks like he's sporting your Brutus shirt today. So there's no proof of that, but we're gonna believe you. He also mentions the Chitlin choke is a brilliant study in anatomy.
Oh boy, good old Sep.
Such a character. I'll tell you what.
And for anybody that doesn't know what that is there's a scene in Brutus the Badass where Brutus he punches through somebody's stomach, pulls his intestines out, and then uses those
to choke them.
Yeah, to choke someone else.
Nice. So you call it the Chitlin choke?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
He called it the Chitlin choke, so I put that in as a sound effect. Because I like when I'm doing a comedy book like that. I mean, Brutus is basically Lobo,
right,
and Deadpool.
Yeah.
When I do a book like that, I like using descriptors, just silly sound effects like that.
Nice. Well, it definitely made an impact. So there you go. So let me ask you guys. So what inspired your what inspired Brutus for instance, and then Hero?
Well,
is it something you've been on the back burner for a long time? And then
Brutus is kind of a weird story, because Comicsgate really inspired Brutus. The people that are following me on Twitter inspired it.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, I was going to be working on a book called Daring Adventures, which is typical Buck Rogers meets Flash Gordon meets Star Trek kind of space adventure thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the main character looked like Brutus the Badass, big burly brute looking dude with a pompadour, but he was wearing a space cop uniform. Well, somebody on Twitter challenged me to make my version of Lobo, because I really, really love Lobo. One of my favorite characters. I would kill to draw that book. And so I took Captain David Dare, which was the lead of that book, and I threw some Lobo stuff on him, and then just like threw a name on him, called him Brutus the Badass. And then I sat there looking at it and thinking, this is kind of cool looking. I mean, this is kind of like this could be my Lobo. And then it came up with a quick backstory, and it's like, yeah, this works. And then I hit up Nasir and was like, let's do this.
That's awesome. Yeah. Every picture I've seen of Brutus, it does remind me of Lobo. So I think he succeeded there for sure.
So I definitely threw all of my influences, like Keith Giffen's Trencher and Lobo and Deadpool and Next Wave. I threw all that stuff in there because, you know, those are the kind of books that I like to read, and those are the kind of books that I want to draw. Just balls to the wall, fun, hyper violent action, you know, comics.
Right.
Yeah, and your style is so perfect for that, and so it just flows so naturally like that. And I was thinking, you're talking about those characters, but earlier today I was looking at some Pitt comics, and I was like, man, I bet Donal would kill on a Pitt comic.
Yeah, I love Pitt. Brutus's vest is inspired by Pitt. The inner lining of his vest is the same as Pitt's.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good. So what about you, Mutt-Man? I know you've been working on this with Macho.
Yeah, Hero was a long gestating kind of thing. The story started out really strange. Macho came to me. He had this weird dream, and he was like, I dreamed that these robots were flying around, and they were carrying dead bodies, and they were using them like puppets. And I was like, dude, what did you eat last night? You know? And he just kept talking about this crazy wild dream and how strange it was in sci-fi, and you know, and I was like, man, you know, that could be an interesting book. Maybe that's a comic book. And he was like, yeah. And so we just kind of started, you know, throwing it around, and eventually it just kind of like morphed into what it is now. But it was almost kind of like we had this sort of like first picture, and then we just kind of started just chipping away at it together until we got down to this story, which is what it is now, which is more about this little robot who is like a backpack, and he jumps on a dead body, brings it to life, and turns it into a hulked out super soldier.
That's pretty badass.
Oh, it's going to be fun, man. It's a lot in the same vein as yours. It's a lot of fun violence and a lot of just fighting and you know, interesting looking characters. So it's going to be good. But yeah, it kind of just formed itself. And even now, like as the story has developed out and we've gotten to the ending of the first one, the continuation of Hero as a storyline is just blossoming with all these new ideas. And it's really cool to work with Macho. I don't want to give him too much credit. I know he's in the chat listening right now, but
and he's got a wrench, so don't.
Oh boy, good grief! But yeah, he's got a great imagination, and we work well together. You know, because I can tell him when something just is stupid, and he'll tell me when something just it doesn't work. And so we just keep kind of like going back and forth until we come out with something that's, you know, pretty good, we think.
Right.
We're really excited about it. It's a fun world to live in, and you know, it's dystopian, it's World War III, but the characters that we have in it are very lively. We've got a lot of humor in it. It's going to be good.
Very cool. Very cool. So you bring up a good point. As an artist, like right now, I've been doing like both sides of the. I'm on both sides of the spectrum as an artist in comics. I'm drawing my own thing, you know, something I've written, and I find myself a lot easier to work with than other people. But and then I'm also working with someone else on their story and doing the art for that, and so and I know that you're working with Macho, and then. Donal, you worked with Nasir, and then you worked with other people before too. So how do you find that experience? Is that something that's enjoyable, or do you think you think you'd rather work on you write it and you do it, or how's that experience been for you guys? I guess is what I'm asking.
It's been pretty good. I prefer to kind of work with people because I'm not really I'm not really what I would call an idea man.
Uh-huh.
I'm more of a it's like I can't plant the seed of the idea, but I can help it grow
Okay, yeah,
and branch out. I need somebody to have that little seed.
yeah. And I think that's what makes a good comic artist, right? Being able to expand on someone else's idea and help turn it into something good, something great. So that's cool. What about you, Mutt? Is that the preferred way of working on comics that you enjoy?
Yeah, definitely working with somebody makes things easier, especially in terms of like a campaign. Like not only are we creative partners, but we're also campaign partners.
Mm-hmm.
And that really kind of takes a lot of the work and splits it in half because, he's a good promo man. He'll get out there and hustle. And so I can be, because I'm doing sort of the long form work. He's got the easy lifting with the writing. He just basically sits down and, puts out a script and then I've got to go for the next, couple of months finishing out pages, thumbnails, and then, pencils and then inks. So there's plenty of time for him to push promo. And that's really important to have a partner who can do that.
Those damn writers always get the easy job.
Right. I mean, how long does it take him to write a book? What, 10 minutes? I don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
I heard Nasir writes one when he goes to the bathroom.
I know, that's right. Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I had him on this show and he's like, oh yeah, I just pumped out 2,000 words today. And I'm like, really?
I had to defend myself. I jump on. I had to defend myself.
This is ridiculous. Why'd you let him in here?
What's up, Macho? What's up?
What's up, guys? Sorry, I had the YouTube on as soon as I clicked this, and then everybody was talking in my head at one time.
Oh,
but here I am. I had to defend myself because Mutt was saying I'm doing all the easy stuff. All right.
Okay.
I'm just playing. I really don't do much at all. So I think of some weird stuff and I send it to him, and most of the time he's like try again, and every once in a while he'll keep something. But no, for real, it's a lot of fun.
Well, I think that's it. I think that's important for a good chemistry between a creative team, especially if you've got multiple people working, and obviously you guys have worked with people that you really enjoy working with. Put out good products and stuff. But I think that's very important. I mean, you got to be able. There's some give and take there. I think the writer writes a story, and then until it gets on paper, until the layouts get done. Page pacing, even panel pacing, all the layouts, is this a splash page? Is this a double page? I think the artist has, quite a bit to contribute, during the creation process. And that's what I think. I don't know what you guys think about that, but.
Oh, me and Macho are not afraid to rework a page. That's definitely happened many, many times.
Yeah.
So we'll have our ideas. We'll even go so far as doing our thumbs. We get into pencil stage and it's like, what if we did this? Macho's real bad about coming up with better ideas. Mm-hmm. He has a good idea then he'll get a better idea.
Yeah. I do that. I'd probably do that more than he cares to admit because then he has to go back and change stuff. I don't know if they're better. They're different ideas sometimes. Sometimes they're not better, I guess. But I think that, like you said, it's nice for me as a writer to work with somebody like Mutt, or like any good artist, I think. And if you have a good relationship with that person, then it makes it really easy to bounce more ideas and know that they're not going to kill you or be upset. But yeah, I think it's important to get a good have a good team, and it's going to make the product better overall because you're both invested in it. So.
Right. Would you say that's pretty accurate, Donald? I mean, like when you were working with Nasir, I mean, you had some creative input on the final product, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have a very good working relationship, and we just the same as Macho and Mutt here. We just throw ideas back and forth, and then Nasir goes to town and writes it. And while I'm drawing it. If I think of something cool, I just throw it in there, and I don't tell him.
That's cool. I mean, that's the way to do it. I mean, artists got to rule the roost anyway.
No, but it's usually just something that works with the story. So choreographing a fight scene or something. But he works with a really loose script, so it's beneficial.
Yeah, I was going to ask you: Does Nasir does he like to script everything out, or does he kind of write the story and then let you do the thumbs? Like what is your style, I guess?
It's a little in between. His scripting is a little in between the Marvel method and writing everything out, because he'll do pages, but he won't do panels. He'll like describe what's going on the page, give the beats and some dialogue that goes in it, and then funny. I draw it, and then we're gonna go back and we're gonna add some more, punch up the dialogue and things like that.
I'd say that's probably really close to the way Mutt and I do it, just because I never got really good at writing a specific lined out script, and I've tried that a few times, but generally I'll just write. I'll brain dump everything and write it all out, and then get down. I mean, the general story, and then we'll start thumbing it. I'll let him go to town on all the art, and then we'll come back and really nail the dialogue down after. I usually take a couple passes, and then we'll just kind of go through it together. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you're always editing as you go, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think and I think it really comes out in the end. You could tell whether or not a team work well together, and they could hash out their ideas and get a real collaborative effort going. And so I like that. It's kind of what I'm doing with the writer I'm working with now. He's more used to working and doing screenplays for movies and TV and stuff, and so he's not very familiar with comics. And so we've been going back and forth pretty much. He'll write what he thinks should be on a page, and I'll come back and I'll just give him a little bit of feedback on that, and it's always changing. So I think how it's worked out with us is he writes a story, and then we chop it down into a book or a series of books or whatever. So but I think as long as you get the final product out the way you want it, I think any way is probably a good way. Just depends on who's working it. So one thing that I don't get a chance to ask the writers when I have them on here, but I've got some artists on here I can ask you guys. Do you work traditionally or digitally? And do you prefer one over the other, or is it just a matter of whatever strikes your fancy at the time?
I work fully digitally now, but for like specific perk on the campaign, I'll do a certain number of pages, like however many of that perk is bought. I'll do those traditionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I prefer to work digitally at the moment, mostly because it's not beneficial. It's not cost beneficial for me to purchase supplies.
Right.
It's basically free for me to draw digitally, but
right.
Buying paper and pens, that's an expense, and the original art sales, it's just not there to make it worth it.
Right. What about you, Matt? I think you work traditionally, right?
No, actually, I'm probably 80-20.
Oh, are you? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
mostly digital. I try to make it look as much like traditional as I'm able to. So I've got some pretty funky Photoshop brushes that I use, but yeah, I'm full on digital most of the time. Now I do like to work traditional for sort of like campaign perks.
Yeah.
So like, if there's a couple of pages that we want to give away, then I'll work traditional on those pages. So I've got 5 pages coming up in the next hero that are going to be fully traditional. And then I'll do everything like scan them in, and then, we'll get them colored and everything like that. But I'm going to have penciled inked pages for that, which I love. I really love working traditionally, but it just slows me down a lot. And digital is just so much faster for me. And I just like having more freedom digitally.
Right. Yeah. I I could do both, but nowadays I tend more towards digital just because it's quicker. And I've got my wife yelling in the background. Can you hear her? she's cussing in Spanish. So okay, all right. Yeah. So I got sidetracked there. Sorry. So yeah, digital. I could just work a little quicker, and I don't have to plan out as much. Like if I do the layouts for a page and then I get halfway through the page and I say, okay, this is not working. I need to change this panel. It's not such an arduous task to do. Yeah. So digital, like I said, just was something I prefer more now. But I do just like you guys. Like for the rec campaign, I was working traditional cover for the rec, and the last page of the book was going to be traditional just so I could offer it as a perk. So yeah, I think we'll like my great minds think alike, so I think we're good there.
Yeah, I've definitely sped up my process by like 45% since working digitally.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, just simple things you don't even think about, like if you've got a cityscape or even a room where you need perspective and you need to do correct perspective. Digitally, I could do that like in 5 minutes, whereas on traditional, you have to do either blue line or very light perspective lines, and digitally it's so much quicker. I mean,
you gotta get that extra table, that extra wide table, so you can have that 4 foot long ruler, or you get the tape measure and hold it out there. This is my vanishing point. We're 6 feet away.
Exactly. So yeah, it's crazy. So it looks like we got Doug Garrett. Doug Garrett is in the chat.
What up, Doug?
What's going on? Lone Wolf, if you don't know. Good stuff. So also with you guys, do you sometimes deal with I don't know, I guess some people call it artist block, but I mean just not being motivated on some days to work on that, to pump it out, or is it something you just look forward to doing every day?
I love drawing. I would do it all day, every day. My wife actually had to yell at me to, you need to spend time with your family. You're in there drawing too much. But yeah, I get a little bit of like anxiety if I don't draw for more than a day.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing. Like I just got to go in there and I got to do something, doodle a little sketch or something. But if I haven't drawn in a day, I just get kind of anxious in a way. Like I haven't done something that's essential to my life.
I think a lot of creatives are like that. A lot of creative people require that release, or you're really it feels like you're not accomplishing goals or not meeting something you need to do. So I think it's fairly normal for a very creative type like yourself.
Yeah, but as far as artist block goes, I mean, I'll usually go and I'll just grab a book someone that inspires me, and then I'll remember that I have bills to pay.
Right, that gets rid of the block right away.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Oh damn, I don't have time for this. Just start drawing and work it out.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I always try to push when I deal with that. Like I'll be working on something. Like I'm working on something right now, and well, not during the interview, but before I started. Sorry, you guys got my 100% undivided attention.
I was about to say. I was about to say.
I know.
You have my 36 and 3/4 attention.
I'll run into something on an image or something that it's just not working, and I'll struggle over it for like 15, 20 minutes. And of course, I'm a smoker, so I'll get up and go smoke a cigarette. And by the time I get back, I'll say, okay, I'm gonna push through it. So I'll grind through it for the next 10 minutes just so I can get it out. So that's kind of how I deal with block, I guess, is I force it out, But how do you do it, Mutt? Do you ever have artist block or?
Well, I have been a sort of in the design field, marketing and design, and so I was for many years able to sort of use that as my creative outlet. And I really just kind of drew just very sparsely throughout the years, you know, like I would just every once in a while I'd sit down and draw something out. I would try to come up with a new character or something like that. But there was never anything that was really pushing me in that direction because, you know, paying the bills meant, you know, breaking out, you know, InDesign and Illustrator and Photoshop and getting that stuff done.
Right.
But about 2 years ago, I just something switched, and I was just like, no, I've got to do. It was like sort of like a something I had to do, and so I have been consistently drawing comics now for the last probably year and a half to 2 years, and I'm obsessed. I would say I'm actually obsessed with it. I'm not. It's something I still think of as kind of a skill that I'm developing. You know, pretty new. Especially when it comes to the digital art, because I've been able to draw digitally for a while, but like I just got a Wacom tablet like maybe a year ago. So I'm still learning some of those sort of soft skills for going digital, but I am absolutely obsessed with drawing comics at this point.
Yeah, well, that's a good place. Excuse me. That's a good place to be, especially if you want to be a comic artist. I mean, so I don't know if you guys know or care or whatever, but Gimli has a Twitch channel, right? And he gets on there and he streams. I don't know if you guys ever watch it, but he's talked several times about how he got started in the comic book business when he was younger. And he talks about how he used to get up in the morning and emulate like he was in a job, and he would just draw all day long for 8 to 10 hours, you know, just like he had a job, but he didn't have a job yet. That's when he was trying to break in. And yeah, I think if it's important that you have that kind of mentality if you want to do comics, because it is a lot of work. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not something you could just do on the week. I mean, I guess you could do it on the weekend.
Yeah, I was talking to a young guy that was he's talking about a project that he's trying to do. And he's in this community of people, and you know, he was DMing me about some questions and things like that, and he was really frustrated, you know. And I was just like, listen, you know, my kind of advice to him was, you know, this is not like a big money game. You know, this is not like, I mean, everybody wants to make a good living, but this is about the love of it. You do this because you just love it, you know. And that's really, I think, for probably 90% of comic book artists out there, you know, you can make a decent living, you can live good, you can even be very wealthy doing it. But for most part, you're doing it because you just love to do it.
Right. And I think I think that's important in anything you want to do. So yeah, for sure. So I'm glad that you're on here, Donald, because I had a guest on last time. And I really thought you were the champion for no pineapple on pizza. but he showed me a picture you drew of his pineapple pizza man, and he says that you love pineapple on pizza. So what is it? What is it?
These are lies. I hate pineapple on pizza. It stinks. It smells so bad.
I'm with you.
How people can eat it.
I'm with you. That was one of the big reasons I followed you on Twitter. It's like, this man knows the ways of the universe. There's no way you put pineapple on pizza. But, you know, but Josh tells me that no, look, he even drew a picture of my guy here.
He paid me to do it.
I know. I know. I may not
like pineapple on pizza, but I'd love money in my pocket.
There you go. That's the bottom line, right?
Charge some double for that one, I bet.
Yeah, I hope you charge him a little extra for that.
Yeah, right.
So, but I don't know. I could pick on Mutt too, because I hear. Well, a lot of people are going to probably agree with you. I am not, but that's okay. But I hear that your Liefeld, that you really like Rob Liefeld.
I'm glad you brought that up, Bruce.
Oh no.
My man.
I thought I'd heard rumor about this big debate that was going to go on. It was going to be streamed.
I
And,
talked to him about it today. I said, we got to stop saying it. We got to do it. And,
right.
and I'm planning to, I'm promoting this. I'm going to make this a big thing. Like, I feel like we have to have a moderator to like, okay, you get your 2 minutes. All right, Mutt, what's your rebuttal? You're wrong, but what's your rebuttal? All that stuff. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation, to this debate, this official debate.
Who are you debating?
Yeah, who are you debating?
Well, Mutt, I'm debating Mutt on. He is going to come from the perspective that Rob Liefeld is a bad artist, and I'm going to come. What are we going to say? Bad artist.
You're already off track, man. I mean, come on. Here's the problem. Macho thinks that Liefeld is in the upper echelons of art.
All right, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah, he thinks Liefeld is a top 10 comic book artist all time.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
And I would take the position that man is not a top 10 comic book artist of all time. I can name 1,000 artists that are comic book artists that I would prefer to see their art over that guy. Not only that, but he's quite opinionated and says some things that do irk me. So we've got a debate coming up, and I'm going to be very happy to get into the ring with Macho and embarrass him in front of all his Liefeld loving trolls.
That's right.
And I'm going to show him and prove once and for all that Liefeld is he does not belong in the same category as Jack Kirby of all people. Macho thinks he's better than Jack Kirby.
Now
I didn't say that. I don't think I went that far.
Now, I think from what I just heard, I think Donald's going to be on Macho's side.
That's right. I'm looking for Donald and my trolls to back me up, especially when we have this debate. It's going to be an official debate, and I'm looking for people to back me up in the chat with whatever you got to say. But I have a lot. So Mutt, I know, is going to come at me from a few different directions. He's going to have evidence or visual evidence, things to show and tell. I'm going to have some of that too. But not only that, I'm going to have some. I have some. What I'm going to call silver bullet for the Mudman that's going to take him down. I've been saving some things. I've been working on this for a while. I have a whole folder full of information and arguments that I'm going to present to him, and he's not going to be able to do it. He's not going to be able to convince anybody of anything. So
I got one word for you, Macho. two words for you, Macho.
I know what you're going to say.
Captain America.
I knew it.
I know. I think I know what you're referring to. So, but no, that should be fun.
It's going to be good. Yeah. I hope you all will join us. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to invite Rob himself to come and spectate.
Hey, Macho, I'm going to send you a picture that's going to counter his Captain America argument. When he brings that up, I'm going to send you a picture to pop up on screen so that you can just be like, bam.
All right. Wait a minute.
Thank you, Donald. I appreciate that, sir.
He's got to do his own research, man. We don't need to be giving him handouts and freebies.
Look, you know what part of research is talking to people that know that are artists that know Jason. And I'm gonna get this.
Bruce.
I don't want to. Yeah, I see. I don't want to get too political here, but that's like CNN giving the answers to the debate. To you.
Okay. Exactly. I won't send him the picture. I won't tell him to look up Arnold Schwarzenegger posing or anything like that in order to help his argument.
That's awesome, man.
I won't tell him that there's a specific pose out there that resembles that Captain America photo.
All right. I'm not typing anything, guys. Hold on one second. Hold on, man. Okay. All right.
Bruce, this is what happens when you let Macho come on here. He'll hijack the whole thing and make a circus out of it.
There you go.
I believe Bruce brought this up.
Well, I did because someone asked me to bring up something embarrassing for Mutt.
Yes, so, that was probably me.
Somebody with a wrench. But
that's right.
You know, since I had to call Donald out about his pineapple pizza man, I thought
I appreciate that, Bruce.
All's fair, right? So, but well, just to get back to the art a little bit.
Yeah, let's get back to the art and away from Rocco.
Do you guys have, like, for any aspiring comic book artist, okay, Do you have any pieces of advice other than kind of what we already talked about, was just really sticking with it, that might help someone who wants to get in the comic business? Me, I like the indie scene, right? I like this whole camaraderie that a lot of us have been able to establish with each other, and support each other and what they're doing. And for me, I don't know if I would ever want to go to work. I mean, not that they would offer me to do anything, but I don't know if I want to go to work for the bigger companies like that, because I think there's a lot more creative freedom in the indie market. But for anybody that's trying to get started doing comics, doing sequential art, you got any good pieces of advice that you might want to share?
Oh man, I always hate this question. Just keep at it. It's very Jack Kirby once said that comics will break your heart, and it's true. But if you don't treat it like it's a precious thing, then it really won't. I don't really know if that makes sense, but
I think it does. I like that.
Yeah, you can't look at comics and see it as this delicate little thing that if you mess up, then that's it. That's your life. That's over. Because it can take a long, long time for people to actually get in. I mean, Kirby might have started when he was 26 and created Captain America when he was 26, but he didn't create Fantastic Four until he was, 44 years old.
That's right.
So there's no set limit on when you can get in. So I would say don't let failure discourage you.
Yeah. Well, that's a very good piece of advice, because I mean, nobody starts at the top, regardless of what other people try to say. You can't start at the top when you're starting, especially when you're starting out. There's a lot of things to learn along the way, and just like I've said before, I'm probably the older person in this chat, and I still learn new things every day when it comes to art, when it comes to making comics, when it comes to laying panels out. I'm still learning, so I think it's important to remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because you didn't get that job now doesn't mean you won't get another job 6 months from now when you've improved.
Exactly.
As long as you keep going, you're going to keep getting better. Eventually, somebody's going to notice that, and they're going to say, "Okay, you're good enough now."
Yeah.
Yep. No, absolutely. You want to add to that, Mutt?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a couple things. The first thing is you need to start out drawing something you love. Like you don't, if you go into it like it's exercise, and you're trying to get all your skill set up by just doing, things in a book or something like that, it might be more discouraging than helpful. But if you're excited about a character that you've designed and you want to just continually work on that, whatever you're passionate about drawing, draw that thing, right? And get really, really good at drawing that one thing, and then move on to something else. And the other thing is that there's kind of, in my mind, there's kind of like two parts to the business, and they don't all, or business might not be the right word, but they don't always mix. Like some people are pinup artists and some people are sequential artists, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Some people just like to draw a cool picture and they want that picture to be done and then sort of final and framed. And then some people like to tell a story with pictures.
Right.
And those are the sequential artists. And you want to, if you really want to be a good comic book artist, then you got to be a good sequential artist. And that means being kind of a director in your mind, like you got to look at movies and think about why those angles are effective, and, watch, like I like to watch the behind the scenes stuff on DVDs, so they can see what the director thinks about things. And you start to get sort of a directorial eye, and you try to start producing better scenes, sequential scenes. And then if your drawing isn't perfect, but the scene is set up right, people will forgive that as they tell the story, because they'll kind of forget about the little problems in favor of enjoying the whole story. So I would say that get good at storytelling, But if you're not really into that and you just want to be a pinup artist, then be an awesome pinup artist, because you can make really good money doing that too, and you can have a lot of success.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Just got to be able to find your little niche. You know what you want to do.
Yep.
So another.
And to piggyback off of that,
Mhm.
if nothing else works out, just copy Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, and you'll find
Yeah.
yourself in the poorhouse along with all these other guys.
You know what? I will say this about Rob. Okay, I don't know him personally, and I was never a big fan of his. Even when they first went over to Image, I like Mark Silvestri and
Yeah, a real artist.
I did like Gimli, but I will say this about him: at least he had the cojones when he was young to strike off on his own and go in on that business and do well. You know, so I give him props for that. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody has the balls to do it.
Yeah.
And good on him. So I will say that. So
I would call it some kind of a dreamscape that he found himself in, that he just kind of never really dealt with reality and just kept moving forward until somebody believed his reality.
all right.
You know what? I gotta respect him for that. If you can, if that is how it happened, and he has been able to float through life on that dreamscape, that's impressive, I think.
How do I get that dreamscape?
Right, I know. Sign me up.
All right. Look at all these people who stream gaming. Right.
Right.
I mean, oh my God! I wish I
Yeah.
could have done that when I was younger. Shit.
Yeah. And you do know, Bruce, that Rob Liefeld did create one of the greatest heroes ever, and that is Cable. It's true. It's a true fact. Right, Mutt?
and Shatterstar.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with Shatter. What's wrong with Shatterstar?
You're talking to an older. You're talking to an older guy, Macho.
I know. I got to stop. I'll save it.
So, anyways, we're coming up on an hour, and I don't want to keep you guys here all night or whatever. But I am very appreciative that you came on, and we were able to talk art and comics a little bit. And it's quite a pleasure to have you on. Ken O'Hare joined us a little later, and thanks for coming. So I don't know if you had any questions. If anybody in the chat has some questions before we close it out, I'd be more than happy to answer them. So, but other than that, you guys want to talk about current projects, anything you want to boost, feel free. We can close out the show that way. So,
I got Vestige coming up with the War Campaign guys. We're going to be launching that on April 1st. So be on the lookout for that. It's not an April Fool's joke. It's an actual campaign.
And you mentioned that you guys were probably going to be doing a big stream to launch it, right?
Yeah, basically like a launch party on a live stream.
Yeah, okay.
And I want to plug Sovereign by Andrew Huerta. Go check that out.
Man, that book is awesome.
Yeah, it's one of the dopest looking books coming out this year, and I think it needs a hell of a lot more backers. That's my book right there. You know, that's the one I'm waiting for.
All right, very cool. And I did post a link in the description of the video for Donald's YouTube channel.
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go subscribe to my YouTube channel. I forgot I have that.
Go subscribe to him. Plus, go follow him on Twitter, too. He's always got something interesting to say, especially when he is defending pizza against the pineapple.
Hey, Bruce, I think we had a question from Kendall Hare. So I'll let you take it.
Okay. All right. Kendall let me ask a quick question about story, order, and plot. I plan to use the hero's journey style that Dan Harmon uses. Any opinions on that?
Yeah, that's tried and true. That's a good way to plot out a story. You might find that in the context of comics, that it's a little different. It can be exactly the same, but in the context of comics where everything has to be so condensed, it sort of makes your story arc longer, to use that method, I would say. And so if you don't want to do a 110 page comic, you might have to make some shortcuts along the way in your story development.
Yeah, I would probably I'd probably back what Mutt's saying here. It's a good structure. Lot of good movies, a lot of good stories use it. So yeah, but I'm not I'm not the great. Some people might say I'm not the greatest writer. So, but a lot of people swear by it, and it's a good place to. Definitely a good place to start, especially if you're just starting out. So
yeah, I would say when you're using that formula for comics, to look at your story and try to see if hold on, excuse me, sorry. Look at your story and see if you can start it in the middle of the action, or right as the action is beginning, and then explain at that point everything that led up to that.
Oh, yeah, it's
showing it.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up such a good point, especially when doing comics. It's something I see a lot of in quote professional comics anymore. It's like I can't remember who said it, but somebody said it one time, and I think it applies to screenplays as well. That you should have some form of action on every page, whether it's action and dialogue or whether it's action, the visceral action or whatever. And you got to be real careful. You got to be real careful that you don't bore your reader to death, right? Where you have page upon page upon page of just people going back and forth dialogue, coffee shop talk or whatever. And so, yeah, I think Donald, that's a great point that you make there. So.
Yeah, because I mean, there was I don't know who said it. I want to say that it was Jack Kirby. Like, I want to attribute this quote to Jack Kirby, but someone always said, "Start and finish your comic, your issue with a splash page."
Yeah,
that sounds like something Kirby would say.
No, that's something I've always tried to practice. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think Kirby's the one that said it,
because you want to draw the reader in right from the beginning, and you want to leave them with something that makes them want to come back.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I hope that helps you, Kendall. So all right, what you got?
One of the babies woke up.
I'm here. He's angry. You're taking too long. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you mind white boxing me so I can talk about this page that I'm on right here?
Yeah.
You just click on it.
I'm still learning, man.
Bruce, you're the boomer in chief today, Bruce.
I know, right? Does that work?
Yeah, that's cool. We're good. This is the Tales from Beyond the Gate project that I'm on right now. John Dillard is heading this one up. We've already surpassed the halfway point, and there's still 34 days left to go. So this one's going to get funded, and I'm telling you guys, this is going to be a big fat book. There's a cool featured thing for only $60, the Gatekeeper Special. That's a good one. You can come in and read the overview, but let me just show you the art real quick. There's the cover, and that was done by Model 316 and Willie Reed. So it's a real, it's all horror. And so each of these stories is done by a different artist. There's Bill Hart's work right there. There's John Dillard's work right there. A little story named Lydia. Looks really creepy. This is Forbearance by John Dillard. La Llorona. I can't say that like he does, but it's really cool looking. Tomorrow's Extinction is another great one. All of these are little short stories by people that you know. And look at this one right here by Kevin Stewart. That's a really nice one. Look at that.
Looks like something Bruce would be interested in right there.
Yeah, it's nice looking.
Yeah, man. And so look, here's Anastasia by you notice whose name is not listed there. I'm not sure
know. What the heck?
Well, all you see here is the visuals. You don't see the words yet.
That's true. Good point.
Yeah, but I'm several pages into this story. It's going to be a lot of fun. Here's Todd Mulrooney's work. Here's Manny Carella's work. Pixel Trader's got a story in there. There's a lot of creators. So when you back this book, you're backing a lot of creators. And the whole reason for this is to give each of the kind of newer set of creators in Comicsgate a little bit of seed money for their own campaigns. So when you back this, you're helping a lot of different creators do their own thing. And like I said before, our story, Anastasia, is actually a prequel to, there's a couple pages from it. It's actually a prequel to our story Hero. This is kind of how Hero gets its start, a sort of a generation before. All right. Yeah, so you can see some pencils I got going there. We're gonna do a couple splash. He goes into a church. He's telling memories, and then we get here to this most recent one I've done, where he's setting her up to come back to life. But then, yeah, so then we've got the first resurrection by the Crupid family. So this is going to be a pretty interesting little sort of horror story that has a Poe feel to it, Edgar Allan Poe feel to it. So Macho put a really cool story together. It's been really fun to draw this one. So definitely go check out Tales from Beyond the Gate. And back us, man. And we're going to put this book out, and then we're coming in strong April 30th for Hero, Blood of Patriots.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wore my shirt. For everybody tonight. Like, look at that shirt. Look at that.
That is nice. Who got you that shirt?
Some homeless guy dropped it off at the shop for now. I'm just playing. Mutt brought this to me.
Little gift from my favorite writer.
Little gift. That's right.
Nice. Oh, that's good stuff. Well, again, thanks again for coming, talking. I appreciate it very much. Big stars like you on my show. Maybe I'll get some more people subbed. And yeah, I'm literally looking forward to the stuff. I want to thank the chat for coming in and joining us, participating. I want to thank Macho for coming in and moderating for me. I appreciate.
Look how many wrenches are on that screen, Bruce. I've been wrenching it up.
I know you've been doing a great job. I think I'll have you back for the next one.
All right, I'll wrench all day long, Bruce.
So, but yeah, thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. Like and subscribe to my channel. Like the video if you liked it, and spread the word. I'm trying to do these on a regular basis. If you've got special requests of people you'd like to see on here, and if I can get them on, I will certainly try to do my best. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you all later.
Peace.
Have a good night.